Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and selamat sejahtera to all the presenters and also the audiences today. My name is Maliani binti Muhammad. I am from the School of Business Management, College of Business, University Utara Malaysia, Sintok, Kedah. I am presenting for Second International Conference of Engineering, Education, Business, Economy, Social Science, Supply Chain, Technology and Tourism EBES 2021. So my topic or the title today is Virtual Teaching and Learning Implementation During COVID-19 Restriction Movement Order, which is in perspectives of business school. So this paper is actually prepared by me and two of my colleagues, which is Siti Khalila and also Siti Nur Zahira Omar, which from KUIPS, Perlis, and also from UiTM Kelantan. These are the presentation lists for my presentation today, which I will explain on the introduction of my title, and then a little bit on the literature review, which this is actually the concept paper. So I will go into business school in nature, business school in Malaysia, virtual learning versus online learning, theory and practice, interactive learning, and the readiness of the students on the online learning. Next, I will go into the conclusion, which I will discuss and recommend. As we know, the pandemic situation in 2020 has impacted all the industries in the world. So the Restriction Movement Order, or the RMO, has been imposed by the authorities worldwide, not only in Malaysia but also in the world, and it affected not only the businesses but also the academic sector. So we can see that COVID-19 has resulted in schools shut all across the world. And our educational canvas also changed dramatically with the remarkable rise of e-learning from the perspective of virtual and also online learning, whereby teaching is undertaken remotely on the digital platforms. And so the universities have carried out teaching in a digital way, accelerating technological adaptations, inclusions, and use of the technologies. So we can see we still this year, okay, the situation is still not recovered fully. So we still using and go through online learning and also the virtual classes, okay, still for this semester and this year. So the objectives of this study is to determine actually the interactive learning that can be used or can be implemented in for the business school, and also to determine the readiness of the students. Next, we will go through the literature review, which in the perspective of business school in Malaysia. So we can see here, okay, business school in nature is actually referring to the faculty of business in the higher institution. So the higher institution in Malaysia is divided into two categories, which is the public universities and also the private universities. Besides that, we have also other institutions, okay, such as the teaching institute, college, and also the polytechnic that fall under government and non-government categories. So all the business courses and program are such as accounting, economics, entrepreneurship, marketing, and management are the courses and programs that need to implement a lot of practice and practical training rather than theoretical basis. So it means that not only learning on theoretical, but also they need to do uh, some of the courses need the students to do business plan and also do the uh, online business or running the business, okay. So the specific curricular or degree grading procedures differ by programs, okay, and the region in business and management courses at the university level. In the general, the program will comprise other preparation for management, general business, or a detailed and more academic focus on a specific area. But how? School and management, usually programs are designed to give a broad knowledge of a company's functional areas. So at this time, okay, we will actually do a lot of activities, okay, to develop skills among the students. So the skills that are developed are such as practical managerial skills, the communication skills, and also the business decision making capabilities. So these programs incorporate training and practical experience in the case projects, presentation, internships, industrial visits, and also the interaction within the industry experts. So if you can see here, this is the Time Higher Education THE. So based on the Times Higher Education World University Ranking in 2020, the top 5 of universities in the world based on the performance in business and management categories are Stanford University, okay, at United States. And we can see here the total number of the students also, okay. And in Malaysia, okay, the top 5 university in Malaysia that evaluated by the THE World University Ranking in 2020 in business and management are, the first one is University Malaya, which the students is more than 15,000 students. University Science Malaysia, more than 21,000 students. UTM, more than 19,000 students. University Utara Malaysia, more than 12,000 students. And University Putra Malaysia, which is more than 19,000 students. Okay, this is based on the university THE University Ranking 2021. Okay, we can see here. This is just for the details. Okay, next is on the virtual learning versus online learning. Okay, Miller in 2002 had defined that there is difference, okay, between the virtual learning and also the online learning. So Miller had defined virtual learning as a collaborative computer-based learning that allows a group to access, share, and contribute the content, while the virtual learning is one of the elements in online teaching and learning, but it delivers instruction through the internet, software, or both. So it can be inside or outside the physical building of educational organization, which the students can have remote access to the content and the instructors. So the virtual learning is actually a more interactive, which the students can ask and students can answer at the same time, okay, compared to the online learning. But it is one of the online learning branch, okay, or one of still falls under the online learning. So since COVID-19 RMO, March 2020, most of the universities used or involved in the virtual meeting or conferences, okay, such as and the platform are such as WebEx, Zoom, Google Classroom, and also the Google Meeting. See here, we know that it is really important to do online learning, as we cannot do traditional method as we used to do before the COVID-19 happens, okay. So online learning is now seen as essential for the teaching and learning process besides face-to-face and other traditional methods. So during the COVID-19 pandemic or the RMO, some sort of online learning have been created and engaged, and it comes to really importance in its adoption and by most in the education sector, particularly universities. So it has been mentioned and studied before by Ilyas, Paidi, Ghani, and Razali in 2020, and also the Graham, Borup, Palham, and Larson in 2019, that it is important, okay, to know or to adapt, to be very adaptive to this kind of new situation occur or the new norm. So the participations of the students and academicians is unlimited, okay, during this kind of virtual or online learning. Okay, as we can see here in the slide, okay, the theory versus practical. So the academicians need to find a way, okay, to make to give motivations to the students and to make the classroom be meaningful, even though the lecturer or the instructors cannot meet the students face to face. Okay, but how? In what kind of way, and how to attract the students to be interested, okay, or to pay attention and focused in the virtual or online classes. So how to create actually the creative thinking or the creative teaching during this RMO, COVID-19, the RMO, and the situation of new norm during the virtual and online classes. As we can see here, okay, there are two elements of interactive learning, or two elements of interactivity. Which one? First is interact with screen touch, and another one is interact with the content thing. So besides that, there are lots of softwares and applications that can allow students to be interactive, okay, not only through the virtual meetings, which is Webex like a Zoom and Google Classroom, but the other kind of support that can be very supportive to the teaching and learning process, such as the Padlet, okay, the Flipgrid, like Quizlet, a kind of and a lot more. Okay, there are still a few names that I can't remember. Okay, so this kind of all these application and software can help the students to be more interactive. Okay, some of the students sometimes shy to share their opinions and also what they think, okay, when the lecturer asks, especially in the virtual classroom. But through this kind of applications of software, they can share their thoughts, and the lecturer also can ask questions and give them some uh, challenging or some kind of problem solving questions, and they can have their time to answer the questions or give their opinion. So before that, usually before we start classes, okay, the instructors and the academicians need to know actually their type of learners. Okay, so the type of learners, if you can see here, there are three types of learners, which is the auditory, visual, and also the kinesthetic. So there are all falls into their own definitions. Okay, like auditory, which someone that can concentrate more on the audio compared to other type of learning components. Okay, and visual, there are people with uh, more concentration, which they're more attracted to some sort of that can attract their visualizations. Okay, so they easily love to they usually love to watch like YouTube and or a kind of beautiful presentation and so on. Okay, for the kinesthetic is person with very active mind. Okay, very usually the boy or the male students is fall under the kinesthetic. Okay, they mostly they love practical more than theory. They love to learn actively. Okay, in uh, active environment. Okay, so it's basically the academicians or instructor need to know first their who are their students. Okay, what type of learners they are. Okay, so that it can be easier for the instructors or the academicians to help them in the learning process. Okay, the teaching and learning process. Okay, next is the readiness of virtual teaching and learning, not only to the students but also can be implemented to the instructors or the academicians. So this is the questionnaire set that published by Penn State University. They have established one online learning readiness student self-assessment, okay, which you can get it from their website. Okay, so the questionnaires consists of 5 parts. Okay, there are five. Actually, the instruments there are um, about 30 something. Okay, items for these 5 variables. Okay, so the students can answer the questions to know whether they are ready or not for the online learning. Usually, we as okay. These are the divisions of the questionnaires. Okay, they are divided into 5 divisions or what we call that, the 5 variables. Okay, each of the variables contains about 5 to 7 items or 5 to 7 questions. So the first one is their self-direction. So their self-direction have 5 items, okay, or the 5 questions in this part, which these questions ask whether the respondents good at setting goals and deadlines for themselves. Okay, whether they agree that they had a really good reason for taking an online course, or if they can finish the project they start and others. Okay, if the students seem to have a good sense of self-direction, they might be directed to review the time management study tutorial prior to starting an online classes. So the questions, they have 5 questions. So next is the learning preferences. So in the learning preferences, there are 7 items. Okay, they have 7 questions that need to be answered by the students if they want to know whether they are ready or not. Okay, in these learning preferences, the students need to stretch themselves to use different media types, okay, such as audio, okay, to learn in an online course, and they need to rely on themselves to solve minor problems or make decisions about their learning. Okay, most of the times they need to work in an online group that requires good communication skills. So for these purposes, the students can take active reading, active listening, and also problem solving study tutorials, okay, before they start an online course. Okay, these all these kind of tutorials, okay, have been set up by the establisher. Okay, So in learning preferences, the question is such as I learned fairly easily. Okay, I have to read something to learn it best, and I have developed good ways to solve problems I run into. I like to learn equally well in a group or on my own. Okay. Next, we move to study habits. Okay, in the questions in study habits, they're asking the students or the respondents about their study habits. Okay, there are 7 items in this part. Okay, such as um, they are asking to they are asking whether they can read or work on assignments without distraction. Okay, at any place. Okay, whether they can ignore distractions around them when they are studying, or whether they can or they're willing to spend 10 to 20 hours each week on an online course. Okay, these are some of the questions that asked in the study habits variables. Okay, next is the technology skills. So in the technology skills, the students is asking the student was asked on their technology skills, so whether they have good technology skills. There are 5 items in these variables in the technology skills, such as whether they are good in using the computer, whether they're comfortable conducting searches, setting bookmarks, and downloading files, whether they are comfortable while they are surfing the internet, and whether they can know someone that can help them when they have problem with their computers. Okay. And last questions, the students will be asked on the computer equipment capabilities. Okay, in these questions, there are 6 items. Okay, in this division. Um, so the respondents will be asked on their computers, equipment, and gadgets. Okay. So the questions, these questionnaires and items will be asked in using the 3 Likert scale, whether agree, somewhat agree, and disagree. Okay. So these are questions that been asked to the students whether they are to know whether they are ready or not. Okay, to know their readiness on facing the virtual or online classes. So last, for the conclusion, so as we know that the implementation of virtual teaching and learning in university has become a reality since the pandemic situation last year in March, especially in Malaysia in March 2020. Okay, we suddenly need to change the method, even though that we get used to use online learning, and the students in university also have portal to access online learning and so on, but now we need to change 100% to online learning or virtual learning and remote learning. Okay, so we're ready. We need to be very adaptive to this kind of new norm and new situation, as until now we still cannot be or cannot do the face-to-face classes like we used to do in traditional methods. Okay, since even though that at the first place we all of us, okay, all the instructors and academicians, most of them are very shocked. Okay, we are shocked and we scared. Okay, because of this kind of new changing. But after a year, we get used to it, and we still learning and try to improve from time to time. Okay, from the previous semester that we have found out any lack or any weaknesses that we have found out, so we try to improve ourselves okay, to become better, okay, to let the students attracted to the classroom, and to make the learning process more interactive and fun. Okay, so the implementation of virtual teaching and learning university, um, there is a vast difference, okay, that impacted society and communities all over the world. It is imperative to ensure that all the involved parties are ready to face any new updates during this unpredictable time. Okay, especially in the classroom with disabled students. Okay, we need to be concerned on that during this virtual teaching and learning. We sometimes have mislook on these issues. Okay, so thank you so much. That's all from me.